Oh my God, how many times I have to re-record this thing? It keeps failing. Well, the point is that, academia has this fetish for other people's ideas. What's the problem with books? Nothing's the problem with books. Books are great. It's good. I don't think I have a negative idea of academia. I have a balanced idea of it. Things have strengths and weaknesses. At a certain point, when you're not as evolved, you're just trying to get rid of the flaws. There's so many flaws, you're just trying to get rid of the flaws. But you can't do for that forever. Eventually, you find out the strengths of a system are related to flaws of a system. And the point is to choose which flaws are acceptable in a particular system with a particular purpose to get the particular strengths that you need for that system. And you just don't rely on that system in the area of the flaws. Material reality does great in terms of predicting certain things, but it doesn't do so well in predicting, emotional logics. It doesn't present an emotional arguments about explaining, and actually even theisms, which I'm non-theistic, non-metaphysical, but they actually try to explain in that area. I mean, so compared to physics, which is like we don't explain that area, it does. And of course, some things are going to fill that void and exist in those areas that you need them. Now, with academia, the issue is that children and students are rewarded for other people's ideas, for knowing other people's ideas, and that's fine. Again, this is fine, learning other people's ideas. And when I was in college, I believe it was my responsibility to be able to memorize these ideas that I was presented with and put them in my own words. And the problem is, I also felt like once I'd learned them that well and I really dedicated to learning them, I would see what I thought was wrong with those ideas, or at least what you would say the difference between how I felt and what the idea presented. Um, and education is not rewarding. I mean, I managed to get good grades pretty much through my educational career by learning about the personalities of the people that were grading me and figuring out ways to present what I presented concretely enough that they couldn't really wasn't easy to count me against me much my original ideas where I expressed my discovery of how I thought on that subject. Now, that should be the ultimate goal of any research. And you teach kids logic, you ought to teach them, well, there's flaws in this logic, there's weird things in this logic. We can't wait till you know enough to help us question this logic. But we don't teach that. We're afraid the people will never come, and so they'll just think, ooh, there's a flaw, so I won't use it. And we want them to use it. We don't care if they're not going to study ethics. We still want them to be ethical. So just memorize this list of commandments. Why? Good God says so. And that's good enough because, well, it's not good enough for a skeptic. It's not good enough for somebody that's truly trying to investigate reality. And academia has this love of other people's ideas that's to the level of a fetish about it, and that's never good. And I agree. Most of the unlearning people have to do is that they take as material facts what are really just social conventions. Fine. But it's just that when you get rid of it, don't characterize knowledge because of that process. I mean, that's not knowledge. Knowledge is fault that's been associated with social convention. Once you get rid of those social conventions, there's still knowledge to go ahead and have. Let's focus on that. Aren't we already there? The PhDs have gotten that far. So then why wouldn't we start at that point? Why wouldn't the books that they write start the kids off at that point instead of trying to indoctrinate them and always tell them that, well, you can't question this, you have to wait till you're high school. You can't question this, you have to wait till you're college. You can't question this, you have to wait till you have a master's degree. You can't question this because you have a thesis advisor you have to please, and you can't. So you have to do it when you're a PhD, and by then you just write a book about how people can't question things. So that's my complaint. I don't think it's a negative thing about academia. It's just that things have strengths and weaknesses. You know, uh, academia would not work without peer review, and yet the whole peer review thing is being judged by other people based on your reference to their ideas, and it leads to things like reputation, and it does matter where you went to school and how many papers you published last year and all of this stuff. And yet that's just that's also a known logical fallacy. The truth by reputation, and yet reputation is utilized in science. Well, it's a strength and it's a weakness. Together they go together. So the conspiracy of education to indoctrinate people is not because some alpha type person is, oh, you're going to learn and this is the actual fact, pushing it through on an individual basis. It's the coincidence of everybody's own interpretation of their self-interest, all the teachers in the schools and everything, such that we're trying to do a lot of things that take this shortcut. Maybe we want them to get a certain amount of knowledge. We don't think they're going to get more. Or, how do you advertise, how do you put in a pamphlet for your college the fact that people will leave realizing they don't really know, didn't know, realizing they know less than they thought they did going in. How are you going to do that? And so it's the fact that the teachers capitulate this negative feedback on original ideas for various reasons, to do their job and because of their presuppositions about what their job is. Um, that's what adds together into the so-called conspiracy. And it's not a conspiracy. What it is a systematic feature of all of these individual actions together.